For the first time ever, visible minorities in Toronto are the majority. New census data shows 51% of Torontonians identify as a visible minority. South Asians make up the largest group of visible minorities at about 13% of the total population, followed by Chinese at 11% and blacks at 9%. Now, let's compare Toronto's 51% to the other major cities around the GTA. Markham's visible minority population sits at about 77%. Brampton is at 73%. Mississauga at 57%, while Hamilton sits at 19% and Oshawa at 16%. So we are diverse, but are we inclusive? Annemarie Shrouder is a diversity and inclusion consultant in Toronto, and she's kind enough to join us now. Let's talk about the difference between being diverse and being inclusive.
Right. So diversity is a fact. As soon as you have more than one person in a room, you have diversity. Inclusion is a feeling. It's how we are together. It's the environment the environments we cultivate to allow that diversity to come forth.
So as workplaces try to more reflect the population, you're saying they also have to work hard at being inclusive.
That's right. They have to look at their workplace culture and the ways that they're encouraging and allowing people to share their perspectives, their thoughts, their point of view, so that can inform how they're moving forward.
What's your biggest challenge when you talk to managers about being inclusive in workplaces?
Biggest challenge is creating the spaces to have real conversations.
And how do they do that?
Well, it's challenging,
yes,
right? And we want to create spaces where people can ask questions, can learn about each other, a culture of learning where it's okay to make mistakes so you can get better, right? That's a challenge. It takes time. We also want to change policies, make sure those policies are inclusive, so we're recognizing people's needs as we're creating that culture in the organization.
We hear a lot in this conversation about unconscious bias.
Absolutely.
Yes. Talk about the role that plays.
Well, it's huge because it's everywhere, right? We get bombarded with messages all the time, and we don't realize what those messages are instilling in us in terms of who has value, who has less value, what we think about people. And then our brain is an efficiency machine, right? It tries to make decisions quickly. So
yes,
we use that unconscious bias, and that influences our interactions, our decisions, our actions, how we speak to people, without us realizing that it's happening.
We're doing it. Now, you've been doing this work for about 20 years now, first as a teacher, then as a consultant. Talk about in that span of time, are we doing any better than when you started to do this work?
I wish I had a different answer.
Uh-oh.
We're doing better in terms of diversity, we're seeing more representation, but I'm not convinced we're doing better in terms of inclusion. We're having surface conversations. We're not having the real conversations we need to have.
And your advice then to try to do this and get better?
Courage.
Okay.
Willingness to raise our awareness, to see more, to recognize the bias that we have, and to push through that, and to really get to know each other, to really see the other person and hear their perspective.
Without taking offense to what you're hearing sometimes.
Without taking offense to what you're hearing, allowing somebody to share their experience with you and take it in.
Thank you for your time
Thank
and
you.
for your work.
Thank you.
All right, Annemarie, thank you for joining us.
Thanks.